Because we're here in North Carolina, I think it is crucially important for people to recognize not only is what I just said about the danger that Trump poses something that should prevent people from voting for him, but I don't believe that we have the luxury of writing in candidates' names, particularly in swing states. And as a conservative, as someone who believes in and cares about the Constitution, I have thought deeply about this, and because of the danger that Donald Trump poses, not only am I not voting for Donald Trump, but I will be voting for Kamala Harris.
As a town hall in Pennsylvania, but of course it sounded a lot like a Trump rally. CNN's Daniel Dale is joining us now for a fact check. So Daniel, let's start with this claim about Iran and terror. Listen.
Iran was broke. They didn't have the money for Hamas and for Hezbollah. They didn't have the money for anybody. We went 4 years without any blow-ups. We had no World Trade Center blow-up. We had no radical Islamic terror. We had no radical Islamic terror.
What say you, Daniel?
I say there are two claims there, and they're both false. So first, this claim that Iran did not have money for Hamas, Hezbollah, and other terror groups during his presidency, that's wrong, as his own administration acknowledged in 2020. Iran continued funding these terror groups throughout his presidency, although it did reduce funding, experts say, when it came under sanctions pressure from Trump. And then the second claim that we had no radical Islamic terror is also wrong. There were terror attacks by Islamic extremists under Trump. There was one that Trump repeatedly lamented during his presidency. It was the attack that killed 8 people on the West Side Highway in New York. DOJ alleged it was carried out in support of ISIS. And then, of course, there was a 2019 attack by an extremist member of the Saudi military on a U.S. Military facility that killed 3 U.S. Navy sailors. DOJ alleged that that was carried out by a jihadist who was a longtime associate of an al-Qaeda group.
And Trump also said this about the CNN interview with Kamala Harris and her running mate.
If you watch that interview, she had notes. That means she knew the questions, and she had notes. She kept looking down, up. Nobody wants to cover it.
Give us the fact check, Daniel.
Nobody wants to cover it because it did not happen. Vice President Harris did not have notes in her interview with Dana Bash. You can look at images, photos, videos from that interview if you're skeptical. There is nothing on the table right in front of her. All that's there are Dana Bash's notes. You'll notice those pieces of paper facing Dana Bash, not Vice President Harris. And of course, Vice President Harris was not given the questions in advance.
All right, Daniel Dale, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Back at the table here, you know, that being...
I mentioned we had this terrible shooting in Georgia.
Right.
Our prayers are with our friends in Georgia. And
maybe in my dumbness, I shouldn't be shocked, but I really am. Even for a former president who has not particularly shown any interest, I would say, in doing anything about gun control. Just play it again.
I mentioned we had this terrible shooting in Georgia.
Right.
Our prayers are with our friends in Georgia. And
How is that in any sane, normal society with a democracy the right response from somebody who wishes to be leader of a country and somebody who was a former leader of a country?
I mentioned we had this terrible shooting in Georgia.
Right.
Our prayers are with our friends in Georgia. And
I'm actually sitting here thinking it can't be serious. This surely can't be anyone we take with an ounce of credibility. That is all they have to say after a tragic shooting where 4 people lost their lives. Their lives are summed up by the President of the United States of America in one word.
I mentioned we had this terrible shooting in Georgia.
Right.
Our prayers are with our friends in Georgia. And
This is the same person last week who was at the Arlington Cemetery having to go at other people for not showing their respects. Again, Look, he's doing this town hall right now with Hannity, and it's not exactly that Hannity's going to ask him anything difficult or follow up. You just have some level of compassion. But just to say, I don't think there's any leader of any political persuasion anywhere that would react to a tragedy involving school children in such a flippant, uninterested way. Please, somebody explain to me, how do we get to a situation where somebody feels comfortable just reacting in such a disgusting way? Oh, just think of those parents. It's unbelievable.
I mentioned we had this terrible shooting in Georgia.
Right.
Our prayers are with our friends in Georgia.
I'm not going to allow it. You can't take the chance. You have no choice. You've got to vote for me. You've got to vote for me. You got to. Even if you don't like me, you know.
Yeah.
It's no, but even if you don't like me, you can sit there and say, I can't stand that guy, but there's no way I'm going to vote for her. No, you have.
Let me play
Tell you, there's something weird with that guy. He's a weird guy. JD is not weird. He's a solid rock. I happen to be a very solid rock. We're not weird. We're other things perhaps, but we're not weird. But he is a weird guy. He walks on the stage. There's something wrong with that guy. And he called me weird. And then the fake news media picks it up. That was the word of the day. Weird, weird, weird. They're all going. But we're not weird guys. We're very solid people that want our country to be great again. I mean, it's very simple.
I mentioned we had this terrible shooting in Georgia.
Right.
Our prayers are with our friends in Georgia. And
Upgraded our entire program. And you know, the one program I hated to upgrade, hated it, was the nuclear program. And I understand it maybe better than anybody. My uncle was at MIT, a professor, the longest serving professor in the history of MIT, a very smart guy. We have a smart family. It's nice to have a smart family. But I understood nuclear for a long time, the power of nuclear weapons. You need a president that's not going to be taking you into war. We won't have World War III when I'm elected. But
ask the people here in Harrisburg, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Okay. When we come back.
It's the question they asked Viktor Orban, who's really considered a very strong. They said he's a strong man. Sometimes you need a strong man. He's a strong man. He's the prime minister of Hungary.
Let me ask you a more personal question, because you paid a very big price for getting into the political arena. Never mind opportunity costs that you would have had. You've had a successful business. Obviously, you've been a victim of lawfare, if you will, or a weaponized Department of Justice. Although the Supreme Court ruling on immunity, I think, was very clear, although certain judges may not abide by it.
Yeah.
And I listened to you talk about the borders. I listened to you talk about how dangerous the world situation is. I listened to you talk about the economy and fracking and the need for energy, and I hear you. And then I asked myself, okay, why is this different? If 2016 was about the forgotten man and forgotten woman, what is 2024 about?
So it's not that different. It's still about the forgotten man and the forgotten woman. People are being treated horribly in this country. We're a country that's being laughed at all over the world. And I'll be honest, if Joe Biden would be a great president, I would be happier than being the worst president in the history of our country, because I want to see what's good for the country. And I would have been very happy. I have very nice places I could be. This is not easy. I got shot at, you know, I mean, I got hit. I could have been all over that place. I could have, but you know what? It's very simple, and it starts with make America great again. That's what we have to do.
It makes me think. You know my jobs. I've listed them 100 times. Working in the service industry and bartending and cooking and washing dishes and construction. Not McDonald's. That was a lie. And I
By the way, she didn't work at McDonald's, right?
She did not. Well, there's no evidence of it.
Did she
so far.
work at McDonald's? Because
So far, no evidence.
I don't think so, based on what I saw.
Here's my question. She wants to raise corporate taxes. She wants.
But you know, I wanted to say it so much during my term. We went 4 years without any blow-ups. We had no World Trade Center blow-up. We had no radical Islamic terror. We had no radical Islamic terror.
Let me play
Let me tell you,
Kamala.
there's something weird with that guy. He's a weird guy. JD is not weird. He's a solid rock. I happen to be a very solid rock. We're not weird. We're other things perhaps, but we're not weird. But he is a weird guy. He walks on the stage. There's something wrong with that guy. And he called me weird. And then the fake news media picks it up. That was the word of the day. Weird, weird, weird. They're all going. But we're not weird guys. We're very solid people that want our country to be great again. I mean, it's very simple.
Let me play Kamala.
There's something weird with that guy. He's a weird guy. JD is not weird. He's a solid rock. I happen to be a very solid rock. We're not weird. We're other things perhaps, but we're not weird. But he is a weird guy. He walks on the stage. There's something wrong with that guy. And he called me weird. And then the fake news media picks it up. That was the word of the day. Weird, weird, weird. They're all going. But we're not weird guys. We're very solid people that want our country to be great again. I mean, it's very simple.
It's been 9 long years. The stress, the tension, the lies and division, the attacks on our lives, our rights, our sanity, family and friends lost to the conspiracies and the cruelty, all from one man and the movement he controls. But it's almost over. We can see the finish line. A new America, a new dawn, a new start. Unity, joy, strength. It's coming, but we're not done yet. There's hard work ahead, but we take nothing for granted. Trump is failing. America is winning. We're close. It's coming. Now, it's up to you. Volunteer, give, vote. Because there's nothing more patriotic than standing up